Hey guys, welcome back for the next video. What we're going to have a look at just now is making the roles or the moves actually do something. So we've already set up the attributes so that people can do an attribute role, but really in Dungeon World you should be using moves most of the time. Now a lot of the time a move is the same as an attribute role in practice. You know, it's using a strength and its modifier and everything, or constitution and its modifier, but the moves have more flavour to them and there's more information held within the move itself. So we already created moves before where we added a bunch of extra fields. So we've got things like the class. Now that doesn't have any mechanical benefit, it just means what classes can use that move. And many moves are not class restricted. The type is like basic, starting, advanced, things like that. Description is text, it's flavor. Attribute, this is important because this links you to your base attribute, whatever. So if you've got strength 16, you're going to want to use moves that use your strength, because that +2 is going to have a big impact on the outcome of those rolls. And now 6 or lower, 7 to 9, 10 plus, and 12 plus. These are where we're going to try and put a little bit of, not so much automation, but stuff to aid the players and the GM in playing the game. So we're going to be able to, if someone uses hack and slash and they roll a 9, what does that mean? Alright, we'll put it out to chat, and that will be, I think, helpful for the way the game runs. So what we've done over here is I've been building this, I built this previously and prior to the video, and we're just going to go through what it looks like. So I've created a new window class called moves_carsheet, and we can see that moves_carsheet is used. It's over here, moves carsheet. That's used for each of these window lists, these moves window lists. They're all the same, they've all got moves carsheet in them. So we remember that an entry that goes in the window list is going to be a horizontal entry. Everything's going to fit on one line. It's going to start with a link, it's going to have the name, and it's going to end in an I delete button. But in between we've got a few extra bits and pieces. So what we've got here is the link, and the link basically launches the move data. We've got the name. We've got an icon to use to make the roll. Now we've also got an I delete, and it needs to be called I delete as part to make sure that the scripts and everything work properly. But hiding underneath I delete is, let's see if we can, if we unlock it and then we move it backwards, we can see that there's an icon cycler over the top of it, and that's the attribute. So we've got in here strength, dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, charisma, and we've got a blank for none. So which is up here, the default icon is blank. So what let's just move that back into the right position. And lock it again. Alright, so we've got these, and what we'll see is on the character sheet they look like this. We've got hack and slash, so we've got a link, we've got a name, we've got the roll icon, and we've got an icon indicating that it's a strength roll. So with this no stat one, what happens if it's con? We've got a C, but because we've also got charisma, which is a C, the non-physical attributes I've done with the reverse. So this is white writing on black, this is black writing on white. So intelligence, wisdom, and charisma use the alt colouring scheme, and that's how I've worked around fitting that in, because we just don't have a lot of room there to be putting CH or CO on those. Anyway, so we have hack and slash and roll. So what's going to happen is the player is going to double click on the dice icon, the roll icon, and that will execute the move. So what does that look like? If we go and have a look here, now I've taken a lot of this code from the attribute roll, but I had to change it because there's some differences here. So the first part, so we've got node role, which is going to find the ID, the database entry for this role entry on the character sheet, not in the roles or the moves, sorry, or anywhere else. It's going to find it in the character sheet. Node car is going to find the owner of this role, this move. It's going to find the owner's character sheet reference. So because this is an entry inside a window list on a character sheet, it's an entry inside a list on the character sheet. So we've got to go get parent to go from the entry, then we go get parent to go from the list, and that's where we go. So window.getDatabase node, that's going to find this move. .get parent will find the window list, and get parent again will find the character. So this will give us our character reference. S attribute is going to find the name of, no it's not, S attribute is going to find the attribute that this role is using. We can see here we've got attribute, so it can find it from here. It's also in the database. It's in the database as well. So even though we're not recording all the entries on here, we haven't got result 6 or 10 or 12 on here, we don't have the type of move, they're all still part of that node's record in the database. But we want to find the attribute, and the attribute is going to be something like strength or intelligence, something like that's going to come back. Or if nothing is set, it'll come back as nothing, blank. So the role, S role, will find the name of the role. And N attribute, we're just prepping that variable, because we're going to, in an if statement, we're going to give it a value. If we set the variable inside the if statement, then the variable will only be valid inside the if statement. So if the attribute is nil or none, then N attribute, sorry, if it's not, look at here, it's a squiggle equals. So if it doesn't equal nothing or none, then it's going to get the value from the character and the attribute with a default of 0. So it's going to record our, in this case, strength score. We want to set the modifier. We want to get the debility. So if the character has a debility and so they're now weak, we want to get that to number, and S debility is a string. So dice roll description is equal to S roll, which is our name, so hack and slash. If N attribute is greater than 0, i.e. it hasn't returned the default value, then we're going to set the modifier based on this matrix. So if it's up to 3, it's -3. If it's up to 5, it's -2, etc. We're then also going to find the debility. If the debility, so this is going to get the value of the debility field and return 0 if it's default. It's going to just set a placeholder or declare that variable for the string. Now, we're now going to set the dice roll description it's already got the name in, so it's got hack and slash, and now we're going to put in a space, an open bracket, and then we're going to do, this is basically going to get the attribute, which in this case is strength, but strength has been, that value is actually strength all lowercase. So we're going to use G sub and then this one to basically grab the first letter of our string and make it uppercase. So strength all lowercase will become strength with a capital S. Then we're going to continue to append a space and then an attribute, which is the value for strength. So this would append hack and slash, open brackets, strength with a capital S, 16, close brackets. Then over here, if the debility is equal to 1, i.e. it's a checkbox, so it's either on or off, it's either 1 or 0. If it's 1, then we're going to set the modifier to the modifier -1, and then we're also going to set the name of the attribute debility. Here we're going to set it to weak or shaky or sick. In our case it's strength, so it's weak. And we're still inside this if statement. So this dice roll description will only append if the debility is equal to 1, which is in effect applying a -1 penalty, but then it will report the debility name. So strength, it would report weak in here. Then at the bottom here, so if our attribute modifier is greater than 0, then the dice roll string will become 2d6 plus the attribute modifier. If the attribute modifier is less than 0, it'll be dice roll string 2d6 minus a number. And we don't have to put the minus in here because the negative numbers have the minus in the string. So if this was a -2, it would be 2d6 minus 2. Whereas the positive numbers are just 2. 2d6, we have to put the plus in our string. And otherwise, if n attribute modifier equals to 0, then we don't have to do anything. We're just rolling 2d6. So that's all the code for this move. Let's see it in action. So we've got our hack and slash, its strength, which is really the only thing that matters in this particular section. So we double click on it, rolls 2d6, we rolled a 2 and a 6, instead of that being equal to 8, it's equal to 9, and why is that? So we've got 2d6 plus 1, so we've got a score of 16 here, which is a +2, but we're also weak. So it ended up being +2 minus 1, which is how we got this. And our move description says hack and slash strength 16 weak. If I uncheck the weak, we re-roll it. 5 and 2 should be +2. So 5, 2, +2, strength 16, no debility mentioned. If we change our strength down to 7, then when we roll, it's going to do a -1 on that roll. So 7 -1 because strength 7, that's what you get for your attribute modifier. So that roll is working really well. What we're going to do next is we're going to add a script to interpret these results and output some extra information. That's for our next video. Thanks, guys.